the diagnostic language can be such a relief, and then simultaneously, it's almost like it opens up a door to a world that you've just been pushed through. I imagine it was really hard to even imagine what the next steps should be.
Yeah, it does feel like this portal onto a new world that or a new planet that you're suddenly, you know, deposited on. And um, I think at first, I mean, you can't underestimate the overwhelm factor. And I know you know this, but there was so much to wrap our heads around uh, the disease, what it actually was, the medicalese. I remember, asking for clarification about what certain words meant, and like wishing that I had paid better attention in my high school science classes,
Yeah.
because yeah, the learning curve for me was really steep, and then feeling embarrassed to ask the same question again when
Yeah.
inevitably I was just like so frazzled and overwhelmed that I would forget everything that
Yeah.
had just been explained to me. And I remember, I think naively and maybe a little arrogantly, um, believing at first that I was going to be able to remain the same person that I'd been. I saw this as like a temporary stop in the kingdom of the sick, and I was planning not to unpack my bags, not to get too comfortable. I had no interest in going to support groups. I didn't want to call myself a cancer patient. I didn't want anything to do with it.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. This is just like a way station. Thank you. On my way.
Exactly. And, that first summer I spent I spent about 6 weeks inpatient in isolation in a room, and there were, the first sign for me that it wasn't necessarily going to go the way I'd hoped um, was losing my hair. And
Mm.
there's this delayed effect sometimes after certain kinds of chemotherapy. And I remember for those first 2 weeks of doing chemo, every day I would tug on my hair and make sure that the follicles were still firmly rooted in place. And before entering the hospital, I'd actually chopped, my waist length hair short into this weird kind of like mom's bob.
Yeah.
And I began regretting what seemed like a hasty decision to cut my hair short because I believed I was going to be in the tiny percentage of
Yeah.
patients who somehow didn't lose their hair.
Yeah.
And that day, I still remember it's like you said, it's these crystalline moments of waking up and seeing this mess of stray hairs on my pillow
Oh,
and kind of compulsively raking my hands through my hair and placing my fallen hair in these little clump like piles on the bedside table in my hospital room. And by the end of that day, I was completely bald. And I think for me, I had a disease that was completely invisible. I couldn't see it or
yeah.
touch it or smell it. And it was this first, outward confirmation of what I knew but hadn't fully accepted yet.
Yeah.
Um, and it was
Yeah.
this moment where I understood that my life had irrevocably changed, that I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to go back to the person I'd been.
And the hair piece is so personal because I remember thinking like I don't ever want to be I w- I will if I just get to live, I won't complain. I won't complain. I won't be vain. I won't be superficial. I'm not a superficial person. And then to be like, you know, carved up or to be so mad at that port, that like plastic protrusion and just how ugly I thought it looked in tank tops and I thought like it was hard not to immediately feel guilt every time I was angry at the price. But the price felt like for the first stop felt like it was like, well, am I now not am I now not pretty? Am I now not like do I not get to have the things that other people have? It felt so stupid to be mad about that, but to me that felt like the first kind of like thing to let go of
Yeah.
that I wasn't ready to let go of.